Hey guys, we're back with top 3 picks for every role in patch 10.19, which are optimized for any ELO from Platinum and below. As always, we do want to stress that you can climb as any champion throughout these brackets, so playing what you enjoy is always the best bet. But for those of you who are on the lookout for some new champions to climb with this patch, let's get to it. Oh, and be sure to hit that subscribe button on our channel. It would mean the world to us. Let's start off by breaking down our 3 top lane picks. First starting with Malphite. Malphite is a very solid pick for this patch, as he's one of the easier top laners to pick up, and destroys most meta champs at the moment. He's an exceptional pick into Fiora, Jax, Renekton, Garen, and Irelia, who are 5 of the 10 most played top laners. Malphite is one of the more forgiving top laners as well, because no matter how you perform early on in lane, you're always able to provide your team with that amazing teamfight presence and can single-handedly win games by finding multi-man picks with your ult. Malphite's laning phase is nothing to scoff at either, as you max your Q out first, and combined with Comet you have some super strong point-and-click poke which you can use to chunk out your opponents with ease. In order to maximize your carry potential, you're gonna wanna rush a Bramble Vest in AD matchups where the enemy has significant healing, like Fiora, Irelia, or Darius. Sunfire Cape will be your first completed item in AD matchups, whereas an Abyssal Mask is what you should rush in AP matchups. From then on, prioritizing an Iceborne Gauntlet and Thornmail for heavy AD, and an Adaptive Helm for an AP enemy comp will do the trick. Your rune page will consist of Comet as your keystone. Make sure to grab Time Warp Tonic and Biscuits in your secondary tree to help with your sustain early on in the lane. Your best ban options when playing Malphite will be Mordekaiser, Vladimir, and Sylas. Due to Malphite scaling very well with armor and having an attack speed slow built into his kit, he performs much better into AD champions who rely mostly on auto attacks to deal damage, and struggles more so against champions who deal the brunt of their damage from abilities. Our second recommended top laner is Kayle. Fresh off her buffs in 1018, Kayle has been performing quite well, especially in the lower ranks, having her win rate spike from below 50 up to 52%. The big change was to her E, where the mana cost was reduced to 0, the projectile speed going from 2k up to 5k, and the cooldown being reduced by a full 2 seconds at max rank. These changes make Kayle even more of a scaling machine, and because games tend to last a lot longer in the lower ranks, it makes her an even better pick. Because of Kayle's E projectile speed increasing and it being an auto attack reset, she has the ability to proc press the attack very quickly. This gives her some nice added bursts, so make sure to take advantage of this. Since then, press the attack has started to outperform fleet footwork. However, if you are in a more difficult matchup and you want that added mobility and sustain that fleet provides, it's still a great option. For your secondary page on Kayle, you can dip into the Resolve or Inspiration trees. Against bursty all-in champs, you can take Resolve. Get Bone Plating and Overgrowth to help counter them. Against sustained damage champs, going Time Warp Tonic and Biscuits will allow you to do well in those extended fights. For your build, the standard Gunblade into Nashor's and Rageblade is still very effective. If you're feeling like trying out something new though, a very strong build gaining massive popularity over in Korea is a Sanguine Blade Rush into a Rageblade and Infinity Edge. This build gives you insanely strong 1v1 potential, and also scales remarkably well into the late game. The spike from Sanguine allows you to take over in the side lane, so give it a try if you haven't already. Best bans when playing Kayle are Tryndamere, Jax, and Nasus. Tryndamere's ult makes it very difficult for Kayle to win post 6, and Jax's E completely negates your damage output. Nasus's Wither is a pain for Kayle as well, as it slows her attack speed which greatly limits her DPS. To finish off our top lane picks, one of the more forgotten sleeper picks at the moment is Urgot. Ever since the Death's Dance changes earlier in the season, along with his direct buffs in 10.8, he's been flying under the radar. If you've been having a hard time against obnoxious top laners like Garen, Darius, and Mordekaiser, then you should definitely be adding Urgot to your champion pool, as he holds a positive win rate against not only those champions, but all 10 of the most popular top laners on the patch for the lower ranks. Once you get the level 6 on Urgot, your burst is surprisingly high. Poke the enemy out a little bit and then hit them with your E. Follow that up with a guaranteed ult when they are stunned and watch as your chain drags them to their inevitable death. For Urgot's build, you want to rush a Black Cleaver into Death's Dance which gives you a godlike 2-item spike. If you're feeling spicy, you can pick up a frozen mallet for even more damage, or transition into tank by grabbing a Guardian Angel, Spirit Visage, or Thornmail. Press the attack will be your keystone rune. For secondary runes, take Overgrowth paired with Bone Plating or Conditioning, depending on if you want the laning power Bone Plating provides, or the scaling from Conditioning if you're in an easier matchup. Your bans for Urgot should be Wukong, Maokai, or Vayne. Wukong can be a pain to deal with because of his cone, and Maokai can make your life miserable later on in the game due to his no counterplay CC lockdown. Vayne is just super annoying to deal with in lane and can kite you out really easily, so it's another good ban option. Let's now transition into looking at our 3 jungle picks, and the first one is Vi. Since her buff back in 10.13, Vi has been one of the premier jungle picks for low elo, as she has held a win rate well above average at 53% since then. Vi's Q being on a 2-second shorter cooldown later on in the game has made her much more useful in teamfights, as it gives her the ability to re-engage and catch out targets much easier now. Vi currently smashes the infuriating meta picks like Lee Sin, Evelynn, and Graves, so look to add her to your champ pool if you're tired of losing to those picks. The adaptation of running Hail of Blades on Vi has also made her much stronger in the recent months. It just gives her an immense amount of upfront burst and allows her to lock someone down and kill them without any counterplay at all. So do take Hail of Blades as your keystone, and run position secondary with Triumph and Coup de Grace. For your build, you'll want to rush Blue Smite Warrior into a Trinity Force and then Death's Dance for your core build. From then on, you can transition into tank based on the resists you need for that game. Vi doesn't really struggle much against many picks at the moment, but Hecarim, Rammus, and Nunu tend to do pretty well into her right now. Hecarim should surely be your highest ban priority in the jungle for this patch, as he has been out of control ever since his buffs a few patches back. Speaking of Hecarim, he is our second recommendation. If you just want some super easy free elo from the jungle for 10.19, then look no further than picking up the pony. Hecarim's gank threat early on is some of the best for any jungler in the game, and his ability to snowball with a lead is insanely good as well. By running Ghost paired with Face Rush, the extra AD you get from your passive is crazy, and your ability to stick onto targets is better than any champ in the game. Over the past few patches, Face Rush has really taken over as the #1 keystone for the champ. Conqueror isn't terrible by any means, but Face Rush just performs so much better, so we would recommend you run it as your keystone. Every single rune in the sorcery tree synergizes so well together with Hecarim that you just don't want to pass up on anything. Nimbus Cloak, Celerity, and Water Walking just make the pick so strong. Go into Domination for your secondary runes and run Sudden Impact and Ravenous Hunter to make your dueling threat much more insane. For your build, you want to grab Cinder Hulk Blue Smite as your jungle item, and then pick up a Trinity Force and Death's Dance. This 3-item spike is just broken, and it gives Hecarim a nice mix of tankiness and damage. Similar to Vi, Hecarim doesn't have too many terrible matchups on this patch. Nevertheless, we would still recommend Nunu, Master Yi, or Shyvana to be banned. Nunu does a good job at neutralizing Hecarim later on, and can match his spam ganking playstyle, whereas Master Yi and Shyvana will outscale the pick once they get a few items. For our third and final jungle pick, let's talk about Shyvana. Shyvana is one of the best scaling junglers in the game, and with her strong ability to control early dragons, you have a very clear win condition with the pick. If you can play for that Dragon Soul and teamfight around your ult cooldown, then you'll be climbing your way out of low elo in no time. The amount of damage you can deal with your E in dragon form from such a long range makes her so good at bursting squishies out and zoning enemies out of objectives. In order to maximize your usage of this ability, you want to prioritize CDR in your build by rushing Runic Echo's Blue Smite into a Nashor's Tooth, giving you a quick 30% CDR for your mid-game spike. After that, you can go into Rabadons and your E will start half-healthing squishies with ease. Take Dark Harvest as your keystone, and pick up Cosmic Insight as one of your secondary runes to add 5% CDR on top of the 30% you will be getting from your items. When playing Shyvana, we recommend banning Hecarim, Nunu, or Xin Zhao. The only glaring weakness Shyvana has is that her early game ganks are very lackluster. In order to combat this and prevent your team from getting snowballed early on in the game, look to ban these strong ganking junglers. Making our way over to the mid lane, hopping first is Fizz. The level 3 all-in threat that Fizz possesses allows you to catch your opponent off guard and get yourself a very easy first blood almost every single game. As long as you play safe the first 2 levels and don't get poked out, you just all in at level 3 and snowball from there after you pick up the kill. Once you hit level 6, his all-in and skirmish becomes even more insane, and his roam potential is some of the best for any mid laner. For your runes, you can take the standard electrocute with a precision secondary, or you can run press the attack. We have a separate video on the channel dedicated to press the attack Fizz, so be sure to check it out if you want an in-depth guide on it. In short though, you can proc press the attack very quickly with a Q auto W combo. It's also on a much lower cooldown than electrocute, and it amplifies damage after the proc. This works great for Fizz as he can trade very frequently in lane and benefit from the damage amp as well. The secondary page you want to run with press the attack is Sudden Impact and Ravenous Hunter. There are a few different options for your build as well. The most common build is a Protobelt rush into Lichbane and Zonius. The less common but generally better performing build is skipping the Protobelt entirely and rushing the Lichbane into Zonius and then Rabadons. It really comes down to personal preference as both builds work great, so see which one you like best. Another thing to note is that if you're snowballing, you can look to pick up an early Magi's as it's relatively easy to keep your stacks due to the mobility and survivability you have from your kit and items. When playing as Fizz, we advise banning Galio, Kassadin, and Vladimir. Galio and Kassadin with their magic shields make your burst potential a lot weaker, and Vladimir is more of an annoying matchup as his pull makes it impossible for you to hit your R. The best mid laner you should be playing right now if you want to escape low elo hands down is Annie. Annie takes very little skill to play, can be super impactful with her point and click one-shot burst, and does really well into almost every meta mid champ you see in the lower ranks. If you're tired of losing to Yasuo, Zed, and Yone, then start playing Annie and your win rate will skyrocket. As you reach mid-game with Annie, look to position in the Fog of War and find picks with your Tibber stun. If you can control objectives before they spawn and catch people as they face check into you, this is where Annie is at her best. Your runes on Annie will be Electrocute as the keystone, along with Cheap Shot and Scorch to make your all-in threat that much better. For your build, rushing a Luden's Echo does the best right now, followed by a Morello, Zonius, or Liandry's based on your needs for each game. The third item should almost always be a Rabadons to allow you to kill squishies in one combo. We would suggest banning Kassadin, Fizz, and Lux. Kassadin is difficult to deal with due to his magic shield, and with Merc Treads and ROA, he becomes a mini tank. Fizz can pick you out from range with his ult and burst you easily, and the same goes for Lux. She can pick you from range with her Q and burst you out before you can even do anything. Our third and final recommended mid pick for the patch is Malzahar. Very similar to Annie, Malz has the ability to single a target out and lock them down super easily, which makes him a really strong pick for low elo. Players are always going to be out of position, and Malz's flash ult allows him to find free picks for his team, which will in turn allow you to solo carry games. Malzahar's ability to perma-shove waves with Lost Chapter allows him to roam surprisingly well too, so once you hit the level 6, look at your side lanes and see if there are any free kill opportunities. Take Summon Airy for your keystone rune, along with free boots and Cosmic Insight in the secondary tree. You want to rush a Luden's Echo into a Rylai's and Liandry's. This 3-item spike is so good on Malz as a synergy between your E damage over time, Rylai's slow, and Liandry's burn gives you a ton of easy to land point and click damage. Due to Malz's shorter range, he struggles against similar champs that Annie does poorly into. Fizz, Lux, and Vel'Koz are 3 of his most difficult matchups due to the range disparity. Moving into the bot lane, Jhin is our first recommended ADC. The recent nerfs on Caitlyn, Lucian, and Ashe allows Jhin to rise up and become a much stronger pick in the meta, as he currently holds the highest win rate for any ADC in silver and gold. His ability to play off of picks and follow up from long range gives him a lot of value for the lower ranks where players will always misposition more. His synergy with meta supports right now make him even more ridiculous, as he pairs great with Thresh, Morgana, Lux, Senna, and Pantheon, who are the 5 most played champs with Jhin on the patch. You're gonna want to take Fleet Footwork as your keystone rune, and go into Sorcery secondary for the Nimbus Cloak and Celerity, which will make your kiting ability much stronger. For your build, rush a Storm Razor first, then Fire Cannon second, as the Storm Razor's slow combined with the fire cannon range makes your pick and kite way deadlier. Your core build should finish with Infinity Edge. For your bans, get rid of aggressive engaged supports as Jhin doesn't have the luxury of a gap closer, so he can be picked off more often. Right now, Thresh, Leona, and Nautilus are the 3 most picked engaged supports in lower elo, so banning out one of them would be worthwhile. Despite her nerfs in recent patches, Ashe still remains an S tier pick to climb with. Ashe still has one of the strongest early games for any ADC, and the utility she provides for her team from her ult and slows gives her so much value even if you're not doing so well early on. Like Jhin, Ashe does so much better than most other ADCs in the lower elo brackets due to the way more aggressive supports are played. Your level 6 all-in when paired with a Leona, Lux, or Thresh can consistently get you kills and snowball lanes. Ashe's Hawkshot gives her a better sense of where the enemy jungler is on the map, allowing herself and her team to avoid ganks early on. You want to run lethal tempo every game on Ashe, and be sure to run free boots and approach velocity to stick onto your targets even better. Your build can have some variations. You can choose between Blade of the Ruin King and Essence Reaver, depending on whether you want more CDR for more ults or the dueling threat and extra kiting potential. Your second item should always be a Runaan's Hurricane and Infinity Edge third. When playing Ashe, we recommend banning the same people when playing Jhin. Ashe is another immobile ADC, so banning Leona, Nautilus, or Thresh would be ideal. The final ADC we suggest you add to your champ pool for this patch is Misfortune. No matter the meta, the season, or the patch, MF will almost always be our number 1 pick if you're looking to climb the ranks from ADC. There just really isn't anything better than her as she takes very little mechanical skill, but can still pump out more damage in a teamfight than any other ADC with a well-timed ultimate. Sure, she's not as flashy as someone like Vayne, Kai'Sa, or Ezreal, but at the end of the day, it comes down to whether or not you value that sweet free elo or not. If you want to climb fast, pick up MF. Start smashing lanes with the aggressive supports picked in the lower ranks, and you will see an instant increase in your win rate as you do so. Take Press the Attack along with Presence of Mind so you never run into mana problems. Run Sorcery Secondary with Nimbus Cloak and Gathering Storm. For your build, stack all 3 of the highest AD items by rushing an Essence Reaver, taking Infinity Edge second, and then Bloodthirster third. Once you complete these 3 items, your ult will deal so much damage that you'll be topping the charts every single game. By now, you can probably tell which champions we recommend banning. Throw away Leona, Nautilus, or Thresh, or really any hard engaged support you don't like playing against, and you'll have a much better time on your Misfortune. To finish it off, let's run down our 3 support picks, with the first one being Pantheon. Pantheon has started to see so much more popularity over the past few patches now, and it's for a good reason. He has some of the most ridiculous level 2 all-in threat for any support in the game. Push for that level 2 every game, and if the enemy does not respect you, then go all in with your empowered W and you will burn the enemy's flash. Or pick up First Blood every single time. It gets even better once you hit level 3, as you can go chunk the enemy to half HP when trading, and then take 0 damage in return. Use your empowered W, followed by an auto and Q, then use empowered E on the way out and you will never lose a trade. Not only does Pantheon have a strong laning phase, but its roaming potential, especially at level 6, is unmatched by any other support. When you hit that level 6, pay attention to the map and capitalize on opportunities when the enemy laners look vulnerable. For your runes, take Press the Attack as your keystone. However, if you are playing with an ADC like MF, Lucian, or Vayne who like to run Press the Attack, then opt into taking Conqueror instead. Secondary runes you will want to grab are Cheap Shot and Relentless Hunter. Your build should consist of rushing an Umbral Glaive first, Black Cleaver second, and then Guardian Angel third. The best bans for Pantheon are supports who can counter his engage. Lulu, Janna, and Braum can all be a pain to deal with, since they have really good peel which makes it difficult for you to stick onto your targets. Another aggressive engage support we would recommend is Leona. Like Pantheon, her level 2 all-in is one of the best in the game. Pantheon definitely has the slight edge because of his damage output and his simplicity, but Leona is no slouch. Level 6 is where Leona has the edge in regards to being able to lock a target down for an extended period of time. Once you hit it, try to lead with your E, then stun with your Q, and then as they are locked down, use your ult to guarantee that it hits. This whole chain CC combo lasts for 3 seconds, so it gives you and your ADC plenty of time to burst the target out and start snowballing from there. For your runes, take Aftershock with Inspiration secondary, and for your build, pick up a Zeke's first, Night Spell second, and Stoneplate third. A couple of good bans for Leona are Morgana, Janna, and Taric. Our analysts would highly recommend you choose Morgana, as she's played a lot right now in the meta and her Black Shield can completely counter your engage, making it very difficult for you to be useful. Lastly, one of the most underrated yet broken supports for low elo is Swain. The amount of damage Swain does, combined with his pick potential from E and tankiness from his ult, makes him such a perfect pick to climb with. Early on in lane, you can constantly look for E picks when the enemy ADC goes in for last hits, and if you're playing with an ADC who can follow up, you will get so many kills early on in lane by just doing this. Level 6 becomes a bit unfair, to be honest, as Swain's ult allows him to pretty much 1v2 the enemy ADC and support. The tankiness Swain's ult provides allows him to teamfight super well and soak immense amounts of damage for his team, while still being able to pump out tons of damage. For your runes, take Electrocute and make sure to run Ultimate Hunter as well, so you can have your ult up as often as possible. Pick up Presence of Mind and Tenacity in the secondary tree to help with your mana sustained and so you don't get kited as easily. For your build, rushing a Liandry's into a Zhonya's and then Rylai's will do wonders for you. If you can reach those 3 items, you basically become a juggernaut who's unkillable and can one-shot squishies with ease. The best bans for Swain are Lulu, Zilean, and Brand. Lulu and Zilean counter your pick threat by providing their carries with a good amount of survivability, whereas Brand can look to poke you from range and beat you up later on with his % HP damage. Alright guys, that's it for today's top 3 low elo picks for every role. What are you most excited to test out? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching!